Straight ahead, a local woman accused of embezzling nearly $100,000. A popular teen singer cancels her New Year's Eve plans, and it may not look crowded, but there is a traffic jam in the distant skies. Stay with us.
It's 5 o'clock. News 10 starts now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Egan.
And I'm John McLoughlin with the top 10 stories of the day. Governor Pataki today signs a law protecting those who want to enter abortion clinics from being blocked by protesters. It also targets stalkers who harass people who work for abortion providers, making stalking a felony. Before this, stalking victims could not get police protection until the stalker became violent. The impetus for the anti-stalking law was the assassination of abortion doctor Barnett Slepian last fall in a suburb of Buffalo.
If your wrist aches from typing at your computer terminal all day, the Labor Department is proposing new regulations which could spell relief for you. The rules would require employers to come up with a more comfortable workplace. One aspect would make business pay workers 90% of their pay while they recover from ailments such as carpal tunnel syndrome.
Albany police are looking for help in finding the man who raped an elderly city woman inside her own home. Police say the 81-year-old woman was attacked when she answered the door at her Morris Street home yesterday morning. The suspect fled on foot.
With little more than a month to go, work still needs to be done to ensure programs such as food stamps, Medicare, and public housing are not affected when Y2K finally gets here. A House Government Committee says preparation work still has to be done in 18 out of 43 federal programs that are crucial to children and families.
Microsoft is looking at yet another lawsuit. Attorneys in California are expected to file a class action suit representing thousands of Californians. They say Microsoft used its monopoly to overcharge buyers of Windows 95 and Windows 98. The news comes just 2 weeks after a federal judge's ruling that Microsoft is indeed a monopoly.
Police say an Amsterdam woman embezzled $92,000 from the Gloversville law firm where she worked. 26-year-old Mary Roy is charged with felony grand larceny. The law firm of Olisi and Skoda turned up the missing funds in a routine audit.
A legal error at her murder trial has set Precious Bedell free. The Syracuse woman was convicted of killing her 2-year-old daughter 19 years ago. But last week, that conviction was overturned, and today in Syracuse, Bedell was set free after agreeing to plead guilty to manslaughter. She had already served the maximum for that crime's penalty.
A construction accident in Schenectady has left a worker in critical condition after he was pinned under a bulldozer. The accident happened near the intersection of Albany and Steuben Streets this afternoon. Thomas Hoteling of Castleton is being treated at Albany Med.
For the first time in nearly a decade, Colombia has extradited a suspected drug dealer to the United States. Jaime Orlando Lara was handed over to officials from the DEA and will stand trial for heroin trafficking.
The crash of a small military airplane in Tokyo, Japan, caused a massive power outage earlier today. It crippled much of Tokyo's transportation systems. The plane apparently cut through a power line before crashing. The 2 crew members were killed.
Now, details on tonight's top story. A new law that backs up a woman's right to an abortion by making stalking a felony. Governor Pataki signed the Clinic Access and Anti-Stalking Act of 1999 this morning, giving police and prosecutors the power to arrest stalkers before they inflict violent harm. News 10's Jennifer Leuck joins us from the Capitol with more. Jennifer.
Well, Johnny, lawmakers worked with prosecutors, with victims' advocates, with police, and with victims themselves to make this law a weapon. Aimed to protect a woman's right to have an abortion, this law really does so much more. Governor Pataki is very proud of his new law. Inspired by the tragic and highly publicized death of abortion doctor Barnett Slepian, gunned down by a sniper in his East Amherst home last fall, this law could have stopped the stalker before he picked up a gun by making stalking a felony.
This bill will say before there's an act of violence, that person is committing a crime, so the police can go out and make an arrest, and the prosecutor can go out and get a conviction, and the woman or the victim of that stalker will be protected.
It's a common behavior. We hear about it a lot.
Kathy McGee helped stalking victims escape their terror. She and her colleagues at the Equinox pushed for the new law because it's not just women seeking abortions and those who help them who are targets. Thousands of people fear stalkers every day.
Everything that they do, they're wondering, is he watching? So there's a lot of psychological terror to it, even if he's not there, physically there, when it happens enough to think that you could just look behind your back and there he is.
People who have dealt with stalkers often say where there's a will, there's a way, and no law can stop their harassers. Kathy McGee says this law can send a message, though, that stalking will not be tolerated. She's hoping the police and the justice system will really use this as a tool to actively hunt the hunters who stalk New Yorkers and send them to prison for up to 7 years. Reporting to you live from Albany, I'm Jennifer Leuck for News 10.
Jennifer, thank you for that report. Tracy.
Also making news tonight, the aches and pains of office work. Big Labor is applauding new workplace rules outlined by the Labor Department. Under the proposed standards, employers would have to correct conditions that cause some workplace injuries. Reporter Pam Coulter has more from Washington, D.C.
Every day, an estimated 5,000 workers are hurt from lifting heavy objects or performing repetitive tasks on assembly lines or at computer keyboards. And Labor Secretary Alexis Herman says they're talking about real injuries.
Not minor aches or pains, but serious, life-altering injuries.
Walter Frazier's injuries occurred during 9 years of working in a chicken processing plant like this one. He told reporters in Washington that even after 3 surgeries, he suffered so much hand and shoulder pain he couldn't lift his granddaughter. And he's not alone.
I'm a different man today. When I went into the chicken plant, I'm not alone. Everyone who's alive at the plant has the same problems. We all have this damaged bodies. We hurt like hell.
The new OSHA regulations would require employers to make workplace changes to prevent repetitive stress injuries. It could be something as simple and inexpensive as giving a worker a box to put her feet on. But businesses complain the regulations are too vague, not backed up by science, and could bankrupt some industries.
The employer community is not going to really know what to do with these regulations. They're not going to know how OSHA is going to interpret them, and therefore even what the best intention employer tries to do, OSHA is going to be able to come in and second guess.
Businesses and some lawmakers have managed to thwart the regulations for 8 years. They're not expected to take effect until late next year, and they're likely to be challenged in court. Pam Coulter, ABC News, Washington.
The proposed rules can't become final until at least next year, following a comment period at which people can make comments at public hearings in Washington and other cities.
Chief Meteorologist Steve Caporizzo, he's coming up next, and he's got a forecast that's warming up, but not for Thanksgiving.
All right, and later we'll tell you why there's precious little jewel has to do this New Year's Eve.
I got my eggs and my pancakes too. Got to make this
Live, John McLoughlin, Tracy Egan, and Chief Meteorologist Steve Caporizzo. News 10 at 5 o'clock will continue.
We report to you.